Hey, what's going on, y'all? Steve Peterson, broker, owner of Infinity Investments. And today's video, we're going to be talking about, is now a good time to sell or to buy commercial real estate? Okay, and this is the reason today is November 20th, 2020. The reason I want to talk about this because I have got this question about 4 times this week. Two by sellers, two by buyers. Should I buy right now? Should I sell right now? Okay, people are trying to figure that out. I think that's the never-ending question about when you own property, what should you do, right? First of all, so I believe that everybody should have an investment plan when you're owning property, especially if that's commercial investment property, because typically it's going to take longer to sell these properties than like a house, right? So number one is, what's your plan, all right? If you're thinking about buying, if you're thinking about selling, that should coincide directly with your investment plan, okay? And that investment plan should be written out just kind of like a business plan. Maybe not as intricate in detail, maybe more intricate in detail. But the bottom line, it should be written out and it should have an end goal in mind, you know? And some people, the great thing about investing is you could be retired and invest. In fact, a lot of retirees, they become professional investors, and that's kind of my goal at one point. Stop running the business and just be investing, right? But what's your end goal? Is that to sit back and retire with, 20 grand of passive rental income coming in a month? Is that to have 4 buildings completely paid off, free and clear? Is that to do 1031 exchanges and roll your money into, triple net, properties that you don't have to think about, you don't have to worry about? Are you going to sell everything and move to Costa Rica? What is your end goal? Now, once you have that figured out, then what you want to do is map out a plan to get there, right? And I think this process, applies to every area of business and life. Whatever your goal is, let's figure out what that is. Now let's work a plan to get there. So let's work backwards in order to get to that end goal. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, let's not let the market, let's not let the things that's going on, the calamities that's going on to dictate that. Let's let our plan dictate that. Then with the plan, you can evaluate what's going on with the market. You can look at some of the current events that's going on and make your decisions based on that. So if you're saying, hey, look, I'm going to buy smaller properties and exchange up to bigger properties, if that's in order to get to my eventual goal, now what you're going to do is pay attention to the market to figure out what's the best timing. Because let me just say, timing is important in investment properties. I think in everything, but even more so in investment property. Like if you have stocks, you could go and sell your stock today. If you say, hey, I want to sell my 20-unit building, I'm going to put it on the market today. First of all, you need to select a broker. If you're going to sell it by yourself, you can go out there and prepare your package, put it all together. And then that takes time. Then you put it on the market, marketing time, the time of escrow. It ain't just like, oh, we're going to sell our stocks today and cash out. It's a process. So you really do need to be aware of market timing. There's a great book called Timing the Real Estate Market by Craig Hall. I suggest everybody read that book, Timing the Real Estate Market by Craig Hall, to figure out when a good time to buy and when a good time to sell is. But bottom line is you gotta have a plan, and then based on that plan, make a decision, okay? And then that'll help you to be able to determine what timing is right, okay? And so what we're talking about is buying and selling. Is it the best time for that? Okay, let me just tell you, it's a tough time for both in the commercial real estate space. Residential homes, totally different, right? It's great interest rates, harder to buy in the sense of, you're fighting with people, multiple offers. Well, in commercial real estate right now, every market's a little bit different, right? I'm in the Bay Area, been one of the hotter markets for a while. It's cooled off a lot. I'm sure it's cooled off a lot all over the place. Now, different product types are affected differently, right? Industrial properties doing a lot better than hospitality and retail properties, right? But, we're all affected by this pandemic. And I don't think there's a blanket answer of, now's the time to buy. Yes, now's the time to plan. Now's the time to sell. Once you've figured out what your plan is, and where we are in the marketplace, you can see what you want to do. Okay, and I think that if you're wanting to exchange up into a bigger property or a more profitable property or a better neighborhood, it is a great time to do that. Now, when you're selling the property, it's not so much of a multiple offers, marketplace like there was in times past. A year ago, I remember I put a apartment building on the market in Stockton, and I had like 8 offers within a week and a half. Okay, that's not happening right now today. Now, there's always an anomaly, right? I'm not talking about the anomaly. I'm talking about what's the general market conditions, right? So understand, if you are going to sell, I think it could be a great time to sell. It's a little bit tougher. It's not like it was in 2009 and 2010 where there was no loans. There were hardly any buyers. The economy was in the toilet. It's not there. I don't think we're in that phase. Loans are tougher to get, for sure. Maybe buyers are a lot less optimistic, but there are people out there buying. There's deals happening on a regular basis. The interest rates are amazing. Okay, interest rates are amazing right now. So the challenge is, hey, look. You got to roll your sleeves up. When you're going to sell a property, you got to get a broker on your team that's going to really go to work for you. Okay. If you are a broker, if you're an agent, then you got to really go to work to get this thing done. It's not like the old days. We just throw it on the marketplace and get multiple offers. We really have to market. We really have to sell. We really have to engage our database. We really have to engage the neighborhood, engage the community, show properties multiple times. We gotta get back to the old school ways of getting things done. And I just say that because I started a company in November 2009, right? So if you were selling stuff in that period of time, and you had to fight for it, and that's what we got to do. All right. But hey, the flip side of it is financing, the interest rates and terms are outstanding. Now let's talk about buying a little bit right now. When you buying, a lot of people are like, oh, should I buy right now? I want to buy. I think the prices may crash out or may drop out or, whatever. And then there's people, like several of my clients, they're in exchanges. So they don't really care about if the market bottoms out. They're like, look, I'm in an exchange. I'm not trying to pay 35 to 40% in my capital gains taxes. I want to buy. I need to buy, right? So the challenge is getting financing because the banks have tightened up. If you can get the financing, you got a great rate and term. But you got to get there. Okay, so some of the challenges in buying today are when you get the LTVs, they're squeezing them down a little bit. Loan to values, squeezing down a little bit, all right? Debt coverage ratios, the relationship between the net operating income and your debt service, tightening up a little bit. All right, so you got to really do your homework and find a property that's going to cash flow and what's going to cash flow strongly, and you got to make sure you're not overpaying for a property. All right, a lot of people overpaid, be honest, last couple of years buying properties. Right, so you can't do that right now. You're going to buy something right now. You got to make sure you negotiate your butt off to make sure it's the best possible deal. That's important. Period. This is just very, very important. Now, if the property cash flows, the numbers make sense, if you got a lender you're going with, you got to be prepared for something called COVID reserves. COVID reserves. So this is something that the banks made up because in COVID-19 pandemic, there's a lot of unforeseen events, particularly tenants that may not be able to pay rent. Despite all the stimulus money that's been pushed out there, there are legitimately some tenants that are not able to pay their rent. And now we are in a second shutdown. I'm here in Alameda County in the Bay Area. They are imposing some kind of curfew that starts, I think, Saturday night. You can't be outside after 10 o'clock. They don't want you going anywhere unless you really have to go to that place. Businesses are shutting back down. We in a second shutdown. So there's these things called COVID reserves. Now I'm working on a deal in an apartment building where the COVID reserve was 7% of the loan amount. 7%. So And actually that down payment went from 65 to 50. The loan to value went from 65% to 55%, which means the down payment went from 35% to 45%, 45% down, 45. And on top of that, the borrower has to put 7% up and put that in their reserve account. Now, every lender is a little bit different on how they're administering this COVID reserve fund. And one of the lenders I'm working with say, hey, look, all they got to do is put the COVID fund up for a year. After a year, they'll be released back to them. It's their money. It's not our money. It's just we need to see those funds in there in case, tenants can't make their rent and you can't make your mortgage payment. All right. And actually, if you can do that, if you can swing it, it insulates you from being able to take a major loss during this period of time. But we need to be aware of that. That's why I want to get this video out there. I think you buy right now if it fits your plan. What I am seeing in the commercial real estate world is an uptick in defaults. I'm working on 4 of them right now that I track down. I've seen in the marketplace, and I'm working with buyers to acquire them. So that is coming up, but the sellers are not giving away properties. They're not walking away from them. So it's not like you're going to buy this property 30 cents on the dollar. No. But can you buy the property where it makes sense for you based on your plan? And within the investment plan, you should have a required rate of return that you're trying to achieve on every deal. That if you don't achieve that rate of return, you don't make a move. So if the property fits, you budget in your reserves in case some things go wrong, and you can get the loan, then it probably makes sense to buy. All right? If you're thinking about selling, and you're saying, hey, I could sell this property now and exchange up. Well, it may be a little bit tougher to sell. It can be done though, but a little bit tougher to sell. And then you can buy, and you can probably negotiate a great deal on something that you can buy. So the overall answer of is it a good time to buy or is it a good time to sell is, if somebody asks me that question, I'm gonna ask them, what is your plan? Okay, well, what are you trying to get accomplished within that plan over the next 1 to 2 years? Okay, what's your required rate of return? And let's see if it makes sense to sell, if it makes sense to buy. I think in certain circumstances, it does make sense to sell. If you're exchanging up, trying to move on up, okay, if you're cashing out, I don't know if that makes the best time. You may want to wait and ride it out, okay? If you're retiring and you say, I'm done with it, go ahead, If you're thinking of buying, obviously if you're in an exchange, you got to buy. But if you're thinking of buying and you want to lock in a great interest rate, now could be a great time to buy. But you just have to be aware you're going to have to put more money down and you have to put more money in reserves. And you're going to have to really get a good property manager involved. So take the time, put your plan together, get your team around you to help you to execute that plan. If you want to talk to us, click the link below, book an appointment so we can talk about your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. And if you get this video, subscribe to the station. Subscribe to this station. Throw us a like. Throw us a comment. And let's stay engaged. Best of success to you and your investing career.